I just realized I don't really do a lot of videos of me stacking firewood, which is ironic because I think that is probably the majority of my time is stacking firewood, either putting it out here in a drying yard or loading up the truck for a delivery or stacking it at the customer's house. Stacking wood is a big deal here. I still believe that it is the most important thing I do in making quality firewood. Getting it stacked off the ground in single file rows, and if you can really manage it, I think it's best they're facing north and south because it keeps the sun eventually shining on both sides and it cuts down on mold and mushroom growth. But I normally leave my stacking for the evenings. I will process in the mornings. In the afternoons I do my deliveries. In the evenings I stack, and that's what we got going on here. It is late in the evening, but it's also the rain's back. So we're dealing with squishy ground again, and I got a real thick overcast day. I'm gonna try and get this stacked before the mosquitoes come out. The mosquitoes, I'm just thinking this is middle of August. I'm still mowing the yard 2 times a week, and the mosquitoes are just brutal. I do think that stacking, it is labor intensive, but I think it's a healthy enterprise. I think it's a good workout. It keeps you from having to join a gym. It's productive. To me, I think nothing looks better than a nicely stacked row of firewood. I think it looks great. I still think though I'm getting at a threshold where I need to come up with some type of bulk storage solution. And it's like every time I crunch the numbers to do it, it just seems that still the best answer is to hire a high school kid and pay him or her $20 a cord, and that's what I've been doing. I have 4 high school kids that help me, and it's a big help because that's one less thing that I have to do, and then I can get something done while they're doing it. And it's nice when I come back from deliveries that my trailer is empty and I can get right back to processing firewood. It just seems to me, the more I crunch the numbers, of going with bags, or, they make these systems where they go into a drum and the drum's wrapped with netting and you pull the drum out. Oh, that would be a huge time savings. Is it still the most economical way to do this is paying a high school kid $20 to stack a cord of firewood? I don't know. I keep coming back to that, but I think it's because it's not as simple as changing my process, going to bags or that, it's a Posh Pack Fix, it's called. I think they're really cool. Check those out online. But, that also comes with a new process, and am I set up for that? And when you solve one problem, I have learned that new problems pop up down the road. This is how I stack wood, guys. I stack everything on pallets, and let me tell you, never spend money on pallets. There are just way too many opportunities for free ones out there, and I have a couple stores. Whenever I'm on a delivery, I make sure I drive by them because they'll set their pallets out at the road. I just load them up and bring them. I don't care what they look like. The objective is just to get them, get my wood up off the ground. But what I do, I take my sawdust and lay it down, and that keeps the grass from growing up through the pallets. And I just start stacking. I put 1 row on each side. I leave that big gap in the middle. And that keeps the air circulating. It lets the sun get in the middle row, and it cuts down on any type of mold or mushrooms or any weird stuff that's going to grow on your firewood. The objective, though, is to let my machines do the work for me. So I use my dump trailer as a big wheelbarrow. I never process wood onto the ground. It goes right into the dump trailer, and then I pull my dump trailer right out to the drying yard, and I stack right off the tailgate. I also bring my wheelbarrow out. If I have resplits, I throw them in my wheelbarrow, and I keep my canopy out here. If the sun is out, I put the canopy up, keep me out of the sun as much as I can. There is something cool about stacking firewood, and I hear it a lot in your comments, and I, of course, have experienced myself. You know, we have a lot of fond memories of stacking wood with your parents or family members or friends, and it's just one of those activities, I think. You know, it's slow paced, there's the opportunity for conversation, and I think that is you know, some of the things that help us bond as humans. You know, our motto here is family, friends, firewood. It's been that way since the start, because that's the way I see the role of firewood. It's, to me, firewood isn't heat. You know, I consider it warmth, because it's something that brings everyone together. And it's not just from burning it, you know, it's also from stacking it. So here's how I do it though. I got the back of my trailer thinned out, so now that allows me to tilt it up, and that keeps all the wood from spilling out onto the ground. The objective is to not have to bend over and pick stuff up. This is how it gets done. I just use gravity. I use my trailer tilted up in the air. It keeps me from having to bend down, saves my back, and I get these trailers unloaded in no time. I made all this with the 6-way knife, and those middle sections come out looking like this. And sometimes that log will kick sideways and it makes a real big one. And I throw that in my wheelbarrow to resplit. I don't know. I don't think there's a magic size. I just go by the feel of it, you know. And I tell, like, the crew I have that stacks for me to be on the lookout. You know, if they feel it's too big, we set it in the wheelbarrow and then we resplit it. It just works out that way. I don't stack it real big because it takes too long for it to dry out. But I hear, you know, I think every generation has always said this, you know, because I got these high school kids that help. I think the high school kids these days are fine. They're hard workers. They're just like us. I recall, you know, my parents saying, you know, kids these days are lazy and they don't appreciate hard work. And I'm sure that their parents were telling them that. And I hear it out there, but I just don't see it. I see a lot of hardworking kids, and they want to work. They like keeping busy. So so far so good with that. Like, here's a couple extra pieces here. I'll throw these for resplits. But all these kids I have are nice. They're polite and well behaved. And I don't know, I think it's just, I still think there's a lot of good people in the world. It reminds me of when my dad was still able to get around. You know, in our area, you know, we live 1 hour away from arguably the greatest hospital in the world, the Cleveland Clinic. And around here, you know, if you get some bad treatment or if the doctors are struggling with your diagnosis, you go to the Cleveland Clinic. One day, Dad was at the Cleveland Clinic and he was walking out to his car in the parking deck. You know, and they have a huge parking deck. Thousands and thousands of cars go in it. And he got approached by this guy in the parking garage. And he told him, he says, you know, I am stuck. He says, I live in Sandusky, which is, you know, like an hour and a half on the other side of Cleveland. He says, I came all the way out here. I forgot my wallet. I have no cash. I can't even get my car out of the garage, and I don't even think I have enough gas to get home. And he asked Dad if he could give him some money. He said that he would pay him back. So, you know, Dad went ahead. He gave him $20, and the guy was adamant. You know, he says, "Give me your address." He says, "I'm going to mail you a check as soon as I get home." So Dad went ahead, he figured, you know, he would never be able to find him where he lived if he thought the guy was a scam artist. He said he had a good feeling about this guy. So he wrote down his address and he went on his way. It was the very next day. There's a doorbell goes off at Dad's house. He answers the door and it's that guy with a $20 bill in his hands. He drove all the way from Sandusky to Youngstown to pay Dad back that $20. So, you know, that just, I was proud of Dad, you know, for helping the guy out. But, I mean, that really says a lot, you know, for people that would, Dad said, you know, he felt like that guy would have walked to Youngstown to give him that money back. That's how, you know, serious he was about repaying his debt. So I see a lot of good in people. I think it's easy for us to just look at all the bad things that are happening out there. But I think that's just the way you train your eye. There's a lot better things out there than I think what we're all led to believe sometimes. The one thing I will say though, you know, every generation complains about the next generation. And with music, you know, my parents said, your music is garbage. I'm sure their parents told them, you know, their 50s music is garbage. I am the only generation that I can tell their kids that their music is garbage, because it is. And that's it, guys. I think, I've said this before, if you have firewood in a big pile, you don't have as much there as you think you do. Same thing with the trailer. When I process into it, you know, I mean, it looks like a gigantic pile. You think you got a full cord, but you don't. You know, I think what we had here was pretty much a half. I got 2 rows of these, and you know, these are just going to sit out here and start seasoning. I think maple seems to season pretty fast, at least this time of year. If we can catch some dry days, I think this wood would be ready to go in the winter time. I'd be comfortable selling it. I just bring the moisture meter out and test it. So this was, you know, about a half cord, and this is all my waste. When I run that 6-way knife, it does waste a lot of wood. When you run the 4-way knife, there's hardly anything in here. But the more knives that wood goes through, the more waste it creates. You know, you get a bunch of this stuff. And, you know, I would still stack some of this in with the firewood because I think it's appropriate. But, you know, you get a lot of this stuff here. And all I do now is, before I would pull my trailer back up to load, I would back this up to my next area for stacking, and I would pile this onto the ground to lay my pallets on top of. So I get a lot of questions about what do you do with your waste, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to continue to do that until we have our solution back here. You know, everything with this back 40 has just been pushed back because of this. We've lost the whole month of July from rain. So the excavators are behind, and then Jesse the log hauler and I have made a pivot with what we're going to do with this back. We're going to continue with these timbers. But, you know, the way that the timber industry is right now, Jesse doesn't really have any free moments to you know, burn fuel and bring those timbers out here to get them laid down. So that is it from the wood yard today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Stacking wood. I can't think of a more relaxing, enjoyable way to spend your evening. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget, we post videos every Wednesday and Sunday. Hit that subscribe button. Last thing, we have our company t-shirts on sale online, and our YouTube t-shirts and our stickers as well. All proceeds go to my daughter, who will be going back to college here shortly, leaving me here all by myself to run Ohio Woodburner. I hope that everyone has a great day.